What's up guys, it's Scoopman5000, and today we're back here for another action figure review, back on some Marvel Legends, looking at the X-Men Anniversary Series, Magneto and Professor X 2-pack. So we've looked at Cable, we've looked at the Amazon Wolverine, and now I'm blown away excited to get Magneto and Professor X in my hands, get a look at them for review, and honestly what a golden age we're in for action figures. For everything else that's going on in the world, action figures right now are non-stop, some of the best stuff ever to be released, and I'm super excited to get this Magneto Professor X pack opened. So this is kind of cool because it does combine both eras of X-Men. We got the Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy Magneto and Professor in the box, but you see you get some swappable heads, so you could either go with Fassbender or McKellen, or then you can go with McAvoy or Stewart. And it comes in a box that's similar to the other figures we've gotten so far from this X-Men wave, but it's done in the 2-pack style. And I haven't gotten the Deadpool and Negasonic 2-pack yet, but I'm sure that'll look exactly the same, just done with the Deadpool logos. And then, going on to the sides here, you get some renders. On the back, you get some very simplified non-actor likeness images here. I think it's something to do with licensing, why these packages are so simple, but it does not really matter when it comes to the figures. And now it's that time, let's get to it, crack these guys open, and let's look at Magneto and Professor X. And here's Professor Charles Xavier out of the packaging, and of course in the package we get him as the James McAvoy, the younger version of himself. And as for accessories, obviously the main one here is the wheelchair, and you can get a better look at that. This actually comes in a few pieces. You get the main wheelchair, you get the 2 wheels, and then you get the axle, and you have to do some light assembly. But it looks good. I'm pretty sure this has been used on some previous Marvel Legends. I just don't know where. On the figure, by default, you're getting a telekinetic pointing to the brain hand, as well as a slight gripping hand. So as for accessories, you get the alternate gripping hand, and then you also get 2 opened out hands. And then obviously we can't go without speaking of the head sculpts. So on the figure, you got James McAvoy, the younger Charles Xavier. And then inside the box, you get the Sir Patrick Stewart, and it's such a better head sculpt than the James McAvoy, and I'm conflicted on which one to display it with. I think I'm actually going to keep with McAvoy and with Michael Fassbender, just because we're already getting an Xavier with the Logan 2-pack, and whenever I can get that, that'll be my Patrick Stewart. And then, you know, if I have this version displayed as the younger version, obviously got to do the same for Magneto. And then we can get Charles Xavier, we can get him out of his scrunched up pose, and I guess this could be Xavier in Days of Future Past when he's taking his serum or something, even though he wasn't bald in that movie, but we'll just go on that right now. You can see him standing. It's that old suit body that we get on Marvel Legends, and I hate this body if I'm honest. I don't know where this originated. Maybe it was Chameleon or something like that, but any figure I've had in a suit like this, and these shoes especially, they're awful. The figure doesn't stand. It's good that he does sit in a wheelchair, because this is not a great body for Marvel Legends. So we'll start up at the head sculpt, I guess. We'll get a better look at the James McAvoy up close, and something here is just a little bit off to me, but you could see the likeness in there, that's fine. But you go ahead and bring in that Patrick Stewart, and that's spot on. That's amazing. And I'd actually like to see what the Logan one looks like up close if it's the same sculpt, but this is great. Another reason why I'm going to choose to display them as younger versions, though, is the outfit itself. Now, with him, it's a suit. Doesn't really matter as much, but when we get to Magneto, that's taken distinctly from the Days of Future Past. And this is actually based on X-Men Apocalypse. But in the better X-Men movies, the First Class and Days of Future Past, he had a full head of hair. And maybe that would have been nice to get a head of hair on him. So that'll be my wish for this one, a long-haired, bearded James McAvoy. And then going into the suit, like I said, we've probably seen this before. Go ahead and pull up my Nick Fury that I got on clearance a while back, and this does seem to be different. He's definitely taller, so maybe not the same parts on the Nick Fury, but it's very similar sculpt, so actually it's kind of hard to tell. I don't know, maybe those shoulders look the same? Something is similar here, but nonetheless. But no, otherwise he's just done in that blue suit. He's got the brown tie and the handkerchief, and then a lighter blue vest in the middle. It all looks good. It looks very Xavier. Go ahead and I'll pop on that Patrick Stewart head. You can get a better look at that on this body. Now we'll go over articulation with this figure. So the head is on the ball joint. You're getting all the range of motion you need. There's even a hinge at the base of the neck too. So he looks down good and he looks back good as well. And there's an ab crunch under there, but the vest kind of blocks it. It's all one big piece here. And then the biggest issue with this figure by far, if you go to this arm, it's fine, but the other arm, it's packaged like this in this position, and you could actually almost pop the arm right out. It's stuck, this joint right here. I'm gonna have to put some water under it, but it looks like there's an issue with the plastic because the joint doesn't want to bend past this point. And you see the shoulder comes way farther out than that one does, and it's impossible to bend this shoulder down without it flexing. And again, there's a bit of like extra plastic here, something like that. So for me, I'm just gonna have to have him stuck in this pose, and that's not the end of the world. I'm gonna have him looking like the X-Men Apocalypse poster anyway, like this. But it does limit your options, and it's something that definitely shouldn't be there. So it is a big negative on the figure. Other than that, the arm is all the same. The upper bicep cut, the elbow, the wrist hinge and swivel. Then you get the swivel at the waist. You get a splits on them. You get the upper thigh cut, double jointed knee, and then the foot is on a big ball joint. It's got the hinge and it's got the ankle rocker. And with him standing up, we'll go ahead and do some quick comparisons. So if you wanted to mix him up with any of your comic book Marvel Legends, you got the Uncanny Wolverine, and then you get the Dark Beast. And then for some movie figures, here we have the Hugh Jackman Wolverine, and then we also have the young Nick Fury. And overall, that covers Xavier. And the articulation here isn't that important. He's going to be in a wheelchair the whole time. But we do still have to point out the flaws of that suit body. And then the really egregious, the arm not being any sort of posable because of the way it was packaged. But with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and look at Magneto. And here's Magneto all out of the package. And I already like him as a figure much better than I do Xavier. But you can't have one without the other. As for his accessories, in the package you're getting a open hand and a fisted hand, and then you're getting the reverse of that for the accessory pieces. And then for alternate heads here, we actually get 4 heads. So there's 2 for Michael Fassbender, and there's 2 for Ian McKellen. So Fassbender, you get this helmeted look on the figure, and then you're also getting the unhelmeted head. And that same thing goes for Ian McKellen. You're getting a different helmet on him, which is more reminiscent of the one he wore in X-Men 3. And then we get the unhelmeted Ian McKellen head. And again, here bringing in the likenesses, Ian McKellen's likeness beats out Michael Fassbender's by a long shot. Maybe it's because they're older guys, maybe it's easier to put a lot of wrinkles and details in there, where he's supposed to be a bit younger, but it's a night and day difference here. You'd think they were made by different companies. That's a spot on Ian McKellen and a not so much Michael Fassbender. But I will say that the helmeted head here does look good. It looks a lot better of a likeness than this one, the flat expression, and even putting that on, you definitely know it's him. And the same thing can be said with the Xavier. But going over the figure, so this helmet is done in kind of almost it reminds me of Juggernaut in a way. It's like a brushed red metal look. If you bring in the other helmet here, it's done in a lot more of a pearly, almost purplish color. And again, that's more reminiscent of like X-Men 3, I think this helmet's taken from. But this outfit here is unmistakably Days of Future Past. So I think the only way you can go is with this look. Because when you had Ian McKellen, he really only wore like a black robe for most of the movies. And then by the time you get to Days of Future Past, I'd love to see a McKellen and Stewart 2-pack from Days of Future Past, because they got some pimped the fuck out X-Men suits in that one. Bringing back Magneto here, he's got the hard rubber cape here, and it's actually a very solid material. It's not necessarily heavy, but it's also not posable at all. It does actually peg into the back here. You could see the peg hole. That is a good touch, at least, that it pegs, so it's not going to be all over the place. It's going to stay in position. It looks good, and it doesn't necessarily weigh the figure down, so I don't really have a complaint. But it's that great armor. It's a bit schlocky, this armor here, but it's accurate to the Days of Future Past costume. And then underneath that, you're just getting this kind of awesome, textured, almost Kevlar look for the red maroon suit. And there's a bit of black underneath the armor here. And then the gloves and the boots are done in a really shiny black plastic to give it that kind of leathery look. But then the legs are just a bit more matte. They also have some tactical texture to them. Going over Magneto's articulation, the head is on the ball joint up top, and then it also does have the hinge that Xavier does. He's got an even better up and down, and then we get a ball joint at the torso, and that works perfectly with this armor design, and I always prefer a ball joint in most cases. The crunch maybe isn't as good as a traditional ab crunch, but the sculpt looks much better because of it. For the shoulders, you get a hinge and a swivel. It's blocked a bit by this cape here, but it does everything you probably need it to do. You can extend the arm all the way out. You get the upper bicep cut, the double jointed elbow, and then you get the wrist rotation and the hinge as well. You actually get no swivel at the waist because of the armor here, it looks like, which is pretty shocking for a Marvel Legends. And the legs are going to split. You're getting the upper thigh cut. It's a bit tight. You get the double jointed knee, and then you get the boot cut, and then the hinge and the ankle rocker. And that about covers Magneto, so now we'll go ahead and do some comparisons. Bringing back the comic book figures, we got that Uncanny Wolverine and the Dark Beast. And then for movie figures again, we'll bring back the Origins Wolverine and also the Deadpool 2 Cable. And you can see all these reviews here on the channel. You go back a few videos. And overall, that's going to cover Xavier and Magneto, the 2-pack. This is probably one of my most anticipated releases from this X-Men anniversary set. And for the most part, it doesn't disappoint. There's some issues with Charles Xavier, but he's going to look like that on my shelf the whole time. I'm probably never going to pose him again. And honestly, this makes me want to see more fleshed out versions of the McKellen Magneto and then the Stewart Xavier. And just with the figures I have so far, I'll bring back Wolverine. And then I'll bring back Cable. And then coming soon, I also do have Domino on the way for review. And then as for pre-orders, I still have Deadpool and Negasonic on the way. I have Mystique on the way. I definitely want to pick up the Logan and Xavier pack. This is definitely a line that I'm all in. I'm going to be buying anything I can get my hands on because these are some great figures. But I want to know what you guys think. What's your favorite X-Men movie? Do you prefer the younger or the older Charles and Magneto? Anything like that. You can follow my Instagram, scoopman_5000. I'm going to be leaving the figure photography at the end of the video as well as on Instagram. And for Marvel Legends, like I said, I got Domino coming on the way. I also do have that Venom Pool wave coming very soon. I think I'm getting shipping soon from Dorkside Toys, so you should expect to see those reviews. If there's any figures I'm more excited about than these, it's definitely that Tom Hardy Venom, so definitely stay tuned for that one. But that is going to do it for the video, and I'll see you guys in the next action figure review.